As we are entering into 2025 and we are just left with couple of days in the month of December, many of you must be having plans to look for new opportunities once appraisal happens in new year. Although it requires at least 1 to 2 months to get fully prepared for the interviews, in this particular video I am going to tell you step by step using which you can be ready within just 7 days. Although it is again going to take a lot of efforts also behind the scene, but once any interview comes, then how can you be more organized and how can you focus on just what matters in the interview? Those things I am going to reveal in this particular video. So this video is going to be very helpful and I am going to reveal one surprise also at the end of the video, so keep watching till the end. So how can you be interview ready in 7 days? This has been divided in 7 different parts in here. So we will start from day 1, day 2, day 3 and like that we will go to day 7. Okay, so let's start with day 1. So in day 1, you have to understand the role and basics of the automation testing or manual QA testing as well. So you need to understand you are applying for which role, what is the demand of that role. So all of those things you have to be understanding, and also the basics basically. So if I just open this, you have to research about the role. So what that role is all about, you have to look for those things. Okay, understanding the company's tech stack. So what are they demanding in that particular role? Maybe Selenium, APM, Cypress, etc. What they are looking for, looking into required programming languages. On the day 1, you have to research about role and then look for the requirements, what it is, and prepare. You have to start preparing accordingly. Now second thing is core knowledge. Okay, so what this core knowledge says, basically you have to understand about the testing fundamentals like SDLC, STLC, types of testing, functional regression, smoke sanity, all those terminologies which is being used in the QA environment. So you have to be aware of the core knowledge of testing and testing fundamentals. Now another thing is importance of test strategies and plans. So all of these things you have to be very much aware about. It should not happen that you went into the interview and you are not aware of all these things, and these things are very, very important when it comes to the process part of the whole interview. So interviewer also tries to understand whether you are aware of the processes or not. So that is very important. So you have to make sure that you are understand testing fundamentals, all the terminologies and all the processes. Now you have to do some homeworks also. So you have to draft some brief explanation of your previous project. So you have to be aware, because the first question itself comes, how can you please explain about your project focusing on automation framework and outcomes. So all of those things you have to do some homework about, because these things are very basic and those things get asked in the interview at the first in the introduction itself. So those things you have to prepare. Study the company's domain. So which domain the company is in, like if it is healthcare, pharma, or any different domain, just read the company's domain also, so that you can connect what it is required to be in that role, and how you can prepare, how can you understand the thought process of them. So that is very important, to connect with the thought process of the interviewer. So if you understand this company's domain and you draft the explanation of your project and everything, then I think you will have good base on the day 1. Now coming to the day 2. Day 2 should start with the master automation framework and tools. Okay, so what are you going to do in this master automation framework and tools? Basically you can learn and you can revise all the automation tool whichever you had prepared for. For example, if you have learned Selenium, so you have to practice about Selenium locators, weights, handling dynamic elements. If you are learning with the APM, then for mobile testing, if it is relevant, then you can revise the concept of APM. If you are working with Cypress or Playwright, then you can revise the basic concepts of the these frameworks actually. So that is going to give you about good sense about the automation frameworks actually which you are using. Now second thing is, once you are understanding the tools, then you can go with the more detailed thing like designing part of the framework. So page object model, why it's useful and how to structure it, all things related to the framework designing. So page object model, hybrid frameworks, how it is designed, how data driven and keyword driven things work in a framework, and how behavior driven things work in a framework. So all of those things are very important these days, so make sure you are aware of all these things. So on day 2 basically we are going to focus on learning automation framework whichever we have used, and also once you are aware of the basics and aware of the concepts and you revise everything, then also you have to practice. So you have to practice some, maybe building some sample Selenium based POM framework, page object model framework for a login feature, or integrate logging with reporting tool, something like that. So you can have more experience and more hands-on experience basically once you do this. So this is what we do at day 2. So you have to be aware, and having said that, I am assuming that you already have background of all this. Definitely it is not gonna happen in the one day itself. So you should have the hands-on experience before, and you must be working on all these frameworks. So that's what I am assuming over here. So on day 2 you should be focusing on mastering automation framework and tools. Okay, so now on day 3 basically, if you see, day 3 goes in strengthening programming and problem solving skills. Okay, so in problem solving skills, actually what you are going to do, you are going to practice programming and debugging. So that is very important nowadays. What is happening in companies or interviewers, they try to understand the thought process of the interviewee. Okay, so they try to understand how the logic building, how analytical power is there in the candidate. So based on that only they judge on in any particular programming interview. So you have to learn about some programming concepts, like you have to understand object oriented programming concepts like inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction. And just to tell you, it's not just the definition you need to be aware of. You have to be aware how and where exactly these concepts are being used in your framework. So that is also most important. Nowadays interviewers don't ask that, okay, what is polymorphism, if you could tell me. They ask some follow-up question on that also. Where exactly do you see your polymorphism has been implemented in the framework? Then very important is collections. So all those collections you have to be aware of, because collections are very, very important thing in here. So as an automation test engineer, you have to deal with the collections definitely. So you should be aware of collections as well. Now coding practice. Once you are done with the programming basics and programming related basics, then you have to practice with some part of the framework, like writing the utility functions for common testing tasks, something like that, random test data generation, all of those things you have to be aware of. Next is you have to be also aware of some problem solving common interview questions. So for example, reverse string without using built-in methods, or find duplicates in an array. So I have prepared a full list of, I think 10 to 15 questions are there, or more than that. I have prepared full list of all those most commonly asked interview questions. So if you wanted to watch those interview questions, you can watch those as well. I have covered in full detail, so I'll be providing that playlist in the I button and in description also. So once you are done with this, you have solved the programming or most commonly asked interview questions, then you can go with the debugging also, because debugging is most important, guys, because nobody teaches this, and you can only understand debugging by learning by yourself only. So as long as you are practicing, you will learn more and more this debugging. So learn how to debug test scripts effectively using breakpoints or IDE tools, everything. You if you work, I think this debugging will be more easier for you, so you can learn this also. If you want me to prepare video on debugging also, how do I debug and how do I work with any coding related issues, then comment in the comment box. I am going to prepare those videos as well. Okay, so but at the day third, you have to work on your problem solving skills and programming related things. Now coming back to the day 4, day 4 is gonna go with API and database testing, because these days if you're working on API or if you are working on automation testing related projects, then there are high chances, or I would say 99.9% chances that that particular automation framework is also going to deal with APIs. So APIs and database testing, of course, it is very much required. So dive into the API. So you have to learn about API testing and database testing. So how you can learn API testing basically? So you have to again go with revising all those RESTful APIs, HTTP methods, what is get, post, put, delete, everything. And you have to again revise about learning Postman basics, how you can write testing collections, test collection, how you can execute test API test cases in Postman, and how you can automate APIs using REST assured. So basics of REST assured is also you have to cover in this whole thing. Now coming back to the database testing. So database testing, learn SQL basics for verifying data integrity. So in database testing, how do you integrate database in your automation framework? That's what is very oftenly asked question. So you have to learn SQL basics, like some of the select queries, join, where, group by, all these very commonly asked questions you need to learn about. And if you want me to prepare a video on this also, then you can tell me, I can prepare that as well. So practice example. So definitely you have to look for most commonly asked questions related to the database testing and SQL. So you can look into that as well. So once you are done with the day 4, then comes day 5, where you are going to more focused on learning CI/CD and version control tools. Guys, this is very, very important, because in automation testing, if you don't know version control like Git, then it's like day in day out task of any automation tester, because you are dealing with the coding part. So you have to be aware of all these things. So here, once you go inside this version control, you have to learn about version control, like what is the basics of Git, how do you clone, commit, push, pull, branch, and everything related to this. So you can learn this and revise what are basic commands, how you do it via IDE. Basically, if you are using IntelliJ or other tools like that, then how you can use Git in there, what is remote repository, what is local repository, how do you clone, commit, push, pull, branch, everything is very, very important. So you have to understand all of those also. You have to commit test scripts into a GitHub repository. That's what we are doing in our daily tasks also as an automation test engineer, because if we fixed any particular test, let's suppose, so we have to fix and then push into the GitHub repository or any Bitbucket or any GitLab remote repositories, whichever we are using, right? Again, continuous integration or delivery. So basically you are going to you definitely should have some basics about how CI/CD works. And CI/CD, basically Jenkins is one of the most popular tool to learn CI/CD. So if you are aware of Jenkins, then definitely you should be revising the concepts related to Jenkins, create a sample job to execute test cases. So these are the practice things you can do. So basically you have to more focus on learning the basics, how you can create jobs, how test gets cloned into the from your remote repository into Jenkins, and then Jenkins execute your test cases. So all those workflows you should be aware about. So once you are explaining Jenkins, because that is the question which gets asked in the interviews also. Now, one of the thing is optional Docker. So Docker is optional, by the way, but you can learn Docker as well. If you really know, that is a bonus point always. So understand how Docker helps to creating isolated test environments. Basically, how you can run Selenium tests inside a Docker container. So that's a plus point. If you wanted to, if you have that idea, then definitely you should be revising the concepts of Docker as well, and that is going to help you during interview also. If they may ask you that do you use any Docker or any other this kind of DevOps tool, so that is also going to help you. So if you revise those things, then that is a bonus. So now coming to day 6, so now you have to understand mock you have to look for some mock interviews for your experience range. Maybe you have to look for the behavioral question, because we most of the time neglect behavioral question. Because what if we get asked about, tell me about the most challenging situation in your project. So at that point of time, we do not be able to highlight properly. So that is very important to understand, and we need to look about that those kind of questions as well. So in mock interviews, you can do two things: practice commonly asked technical questions, so in mock interviews, and how do you handle flaky tests, explain how you would design a framework or a new project, what's your approach to debug automation failures. So this is what I was telling, right? So you have to understand how do you debug and everything, because you should be aware how if we face any failures of the test cases, then how do we approach. So that is most important actually. So practice commonly asked questions. So these commonly asked questions you can get from mock interviews. So I am also going to start one of the mock interviews related series. So maybe if you are interested, just ping me in the chat or in the comment box, and we'll see if there are more students who are willing to take mock interviews with me. We'll have that as well. So now next is behavioral question. So behavioral questions, actually you can answer behavioral question by a technique which is called STAR. STAR. That means situation, task, action, and response or result. Okay, so based on the situation, what task did you take, and what was the action which you took, and what was the result of that. So for example, if you get any test case failing just before the sign off, and you are not able to understand why that particular test fails, then what are your actions you took in order to have that confirmation whether that test is failing because of the application issue or the script issue. Okay, so you see I have put here, tell me about a challenging project and how you managed it, or some of the examples I have put over here. How do you handle deadlines under pressure, or describe a situation where you resolved a team conflict and all. So that's what you can expect the questions related to behavioral questions in here. Okay, so now let's go back and see at last day, which is day 7. Okay, final review and presentation. Final review and presentation. So in here, basically what you can do, you can whatever you did in last 6 days, you can prepare revision notes just to have a quick look on whatever things you learned so far in last 6 days, just a quick revise. So prepare revision notes. Maybe you can create a cheat sheet covering different things, like for example Selenium commands, test ng, JUnit annotations, and API testing steps, or Postman. So all those cheat sheets you can create, include commonly asked interview questions. So you can create all those things in here. Project demo, so prepare to showcase your automation framework. Maybe you can just have a map of your automation framework, folder structure, test case flow, reporting integration. All these things you can prepare just to have a quick sneak peek while you go for interview. Now another thing which is very, very important is tell me about yourself. Generally what we miss here, actually, we don't prepare about tell me about yourself, and we miss about many key details which we should be doing or we should be answering. So in tell me about yourself, generally you have to tell about your technical and professional background, your key achievements in automation testing, and why you are excited about the role. So in case you want me to prepare videos on any of these topics, whichever I am telling, covering 7 days, you can just ping in the chat or comment box, and I am going to prepare videos on that as well. Okay, so I think we are done. That was all in this particular video. I hope this video was helpful and you found some insights about how you can prepare for interview in just 7 days. I know this requires a lot of preparation in background before you get into this 7-day spell to start preparing for your interview, but having the clarity and how do you approach for any preparation, that is most important, because when we get into the interview or when we get a call for interview, we get so many things in our head that we don't keep focus on. So this particular day by day, step by step process is going to help you keep things in line and will help you to organize your interview preparation. And at last, the surprise which I was talking at the start, I am going to give you this mind map for free in the description. So you can go and download and look for this mind map for yourself. And do let me know in the comment box whatever you feel about this video and what different topics you want me to cover and prepare for. So if you want any help in the interview preparation related videos, do let me know. I am going to prepare those videos as well. I hope this whole video was helpful. Do let me know in the comment box. Thank you, and signing off.